Hey folks, welcome back to the Nate Carlisle Show, where today we had great feedback on how Justice was a great co-host on the last one. So we're gonna try it again and see what the feedback is and go from there. Today's topic is gonna be a great one. It's gonna be a conversational style value given on how to grow as an entrepreneur, how to take the steps, something that Justice is very, very well knowledgeable about and has done. What I've done in my past before I started my business in 2017, I did it continually through the businesses that I was in. And I feel like that it would be a great conversation, throwing around ideas, arguments, all the good stuff. So it's gonna be great. Go like and share and subscribe, and let's get into it. Justice, hey, you started with me back in 2018, middle of 2018.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And you started as the lowest you possibly can in the framing industry.
Entry level,
cutting boards for the nailers.
Yes.
Is what we call it, right? And you were able to take the steps, and within a year's time, you were foreman, running projects, anywhere from houses to multi-million-dollar projects. Now,
Yes.
one thing is you were foreman on a good portion of Tecton's first commercial project. We learned a lot on that project. It was a great experience. You learned a lot about yourself.
Yes.
I learned a lot about how to train people, on how to implement other people becoming leaders and all that stuff, what not to do and what to do. So let's talk a little bit, give some of your pointers, like imagine whoever's listening wants to go up in the business right now, wants to become more responsible for their roles and moving up in the business, ultimately getting paid more, becoming more successful, getting more responsibility, getting certain titles. Maybe VP is a goal, maybe manager's a goal, maybe just different stuff like that. Maybe CEO is a goal, right? So
Yes.
so talk about a little bit about that, how you fought the fight to grow in the business.
I'll start with, you have to first identify with what you want. First, you have to, okay, do I want to go here or here? But for me, for the longest time, I never identified what it was, but I was that person that was going to go up. I've always had that high energy, just like go, go, go type. And so I have to really dig into and view it from a different point. And
that's what I seen in you. It's like you were there in the mornings. You were always working when you were on site. Like I remember you cutting, like you were always pushing your nail guy. Like, what's the next board? What's the next board? What's the next size? Like,
so high energy, go, go, go. What is a lot of it? Having other people see that, he's just like push, push, push everywhere he goes. He's pushing the noodles. Your bosses will recognize it, whether it's not today or tomorrow. They will at some point recognize it, and that will get you to a certain far.
I would argue that some bosses will recognize it. To me, I like one of Tecton's core values is opportunity, right? So I always try to recognize people's ambitions. Like if someone's inside my business doesn't think I'm watching and looking and observing, like they got another thing coming, because I'm watching and observing every day, all day. But I would say people won't. And I've been in businesses when I wasn't being recognized by the bosses. And one of the deals was a machine shop. I wasn't being recognized. I was too young to that. So I just went and did it myself. I never got recognized for it. I saved machine time. I saved personal time. We were always getting parts rejected in quality control. And after I did some programming adjustments that I tried to get the programmer to do, he wouldn't do. I was on night shift. I went and changed them. And it changed the whole process completely. We never had some quality control issues after that for burrs and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, sometimes you're not going to be recognized and you need to just go and do it. Just go and do it. Why? Because your self-confidence is the main thing that matters. Do whatever it takes to get you better confidence, period. Don't let anybody stand in your way. And I think that you experience that a lot. Fortunately enough for you, we were always we always kind of liked each other for the longest time, but we didn't know how to connect until we did, right? But like, talk a little bit about how you did what it took to build the confidence up, because people need to understand the ability to have confidence, the ability to create confidence in yourself is key to going up and doing more.
Yeah. How I did it, and more on the same point, is I was a go-go, but then when I find an area that I knew, like you said, I knew things needed to change, but the boss didn't come to me and say, hey, do these. I just did it. So while I'm doing this over here, I found time to do this as well. I took it on. I just did it. I didn't talk up this big game like, oh yeah, I'm going to go fucking do this and do a great job at it. I did it. And then I did this over here, my day job well, and then I started to just take things on, doing it and doing it and doing it. And that kind of got me the recognition, I think, to get further. And then the boss started coming and saying, hey, can you take this on? So as well as doing this, finding time to do other things, take on more things, just take it on. Don't wait for someone to come to you and say, hey, do this and this and this. Because if you have an hour to do a 10-minute task, you're going to take the whole hour to do it. Rather than speeding up your time, do that 10-minute task, and then this goes to a bigger scale, more like days and weeks.
Yeah. In your scenario, yeah, definitely. Like, and you got to have the patience for most part. Like, I'm very keen to watching people. I'm very keen to that. So like, with me, people don't have an issue with being recognized, whether recognize that you're bad or recognize that you're good. I don't feel like I would love your feedback right here on air, bro. Like, was I good at recognizing quality and stuff like that, and understanding?
Yes, you was very, very good at that, and that's how I rose in the company so fast, which is great. And a lot of people that are listening don't have that type of boss. What do you say? Because to me, I would say look at alternative options. If the boss is kind of just a deadbeat dude, look at alternative companies that you could grow in.
Well, that's what I did, right? So I started out as a countertop person in countertops. I couldn't go anywhere. Nobody would have anything with me. So I quit there and I went to work for the machine shop company. And then that's where that previous story I talked about happened. And at that point, I'm like, holy shit, like, people are not recognizing my capacity here. So I went back to work for the countertops source, the countertop store, and their name is Countertop Source. And I grew up a little bit there. I got a little bit of recognition. I got a little bit of confidence growing there, running their CNC and that, but it just never stuck. So I quit there and went framing. And that's when my career started. And I was the busy dude like you were when you first started working for Tecton. I was really busy. I was always there. I was proactive, a little too proactive at times, and bashed my teeth out twice trying to run around and do shit in the trusses and all that. And but what one of the bosses did not recognize anything. Actually, two of the bosses, they didn't recognize anything. They didn't see the potential. And how it worked is, like, you had the CEO, and then you had two other partners that was running crews, running jobs, right? And I wasn't being recognized by the CEO, and I wasn't being recognized by one of the ones that I was working with for a long time. But once that shifted and I started working with the other boss, then he recognized it like that. And he immediately put a pickup crew underneath me. He immediately just started having me do things. He actually we were doing a $2.5 million job. And I keep in mind, I'm only 21 years old here. We were doing a $2.5 million job. And he says, Nate, you are running this job. I'll run the crew. I'll direct the crew where to go because the crew don't have confidence in you yet. But you're running the job. You're managing the material. You're managing the communications with the superintendent. You're managing all that. And it blew my mind that he did this for me. But it is exactly what I wanted, and it's exactly what I needed to build the confidence to go from there. And then after that, he, like, backstory, like he was sent away from the church. And at that point, I fell kind of back down where nobody had recognition. But by this time, the CEO had recognition because this other boss had recognition. So, but I wasn't going anywhere at that point. They kind of declined because some legal issues, and so I needed to move up. And from there, I just went to different companies. So to your point, you do need to move. Go as far as you can in one company. And then move on to another company that does have confidence and that will recognize it.
I actually had a little bit of the same story with that same company because that's where we first met, and we hit it off. Is that same CEO? I went there. Funny enough, that I never got to work with the crew boss that you did click with, that did recognize. I worked with the other one, and he recognized it in me, but he put me in an area that he just kind of like, yeah, cool, that's cool. Yeah, just go right here and excel right here, but I'm not going to pay you more. Just perform very well here. And I bothered the shit out of me. So I tried to get to the other boss, but I couldn't. I just got undermined. But I was like a, 18 or actually 16-year-old kid.
Yeah, you were 16.
And so what credibility do I have? They're just like, yeah, the CEO, I had battles and battles with him, trying to get him to, hey, put me here, do this, do that. He's just like, oh no, just stay here. Kind of like that, the other boss.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think we have a lot of the same similarities growing up in businesses. And what happened when I quit that framing company is I decided, okay, I want to learn more about the business. So I found a company that would trust me and teach me how it worked on the project manager and the estimating side. And at this point, I weren't trying to become an entrepreneur. I just wanted to be a great entrepreneur. So talk a little bit about your experiences as an entrepreneur in Tecton and how, if so, I believe it's true, but if you believe it's true or you don't believe it's true, talk about how your ability to grow and become a bigger and bigger part of Tecton as an entrepreneur has satisfied that hunger.
So right out of the gates, you had barely started Tecton. I was still working for that other company. And I noticed that as we're kind of in these both wild animals needing to do just like go build the world, but we couldn't find that with the companies. And so you started that, and I recognized it, and you was only going for like a month. I immediately noticed, and I was over here. And with that, there's two minds that ultimately sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And so I just got right in. I'm like, hey, we need to do this and this and this and this and this. And you can go as hard and as fast as you want. And not only that, you have a CEO that's helping you, that's coaching you, say, hey, hurry up, you come this way, do that. And so that's the ultimate satisfaction, is all of the paddles you dealt with at the previous company that you weren't getting the recognition. Now you have all the recognition. But more so than that, there's so many areas and avenues that you can pursue. Whether you do better at this or whether you do better at that, you can excel in that and just take it.
One of the things that I targeted when I jumped from company to company after the machine shop company is I targeted companies I felt like had a higher ceiling each time. It's a key thing. Does it have a high ceiling? And you're never going to settle. Like people like you and I that's entrepreneur/intrapreneur, we're not going to settle. So if the ceiling isn't endless, there's a time limit on our time together, right? And I recognize that because I used to be that person that wanted the ceiling. I literally did. Like I didn't want the ceiling, sorry. And so when I went to work for G10 Construction, great company, after the framing company, then there wasn't so much a ceiling there of why I quit, other than I wanted to do bigger jobs. And so an opportunity came up with G10's competition to hire me that was doing bigger jobs and would satisfy that that addiction to do bigger things.
Yes.
And when I was with BZI, who's a great company now, now that a lot of their partners have been exited, it's a great company now. I actually very much respect James Barlow. Go follow him on LinkedIn, BZI Construction, BZI
CEO.
Steel. He's a CEO there. He's a great mentor. But the point is he gave me the opportunity to think bigger, and he gave me the opportunity to do bigger things. And so I had no reason to think I wasn't going to be there for life. Literally, I had no reason to think that until these other partners that outvoted or that could outvote James Barlow pretty much says, like, Nate's not going anywhere in the business. And it was my ambition, it was my drive and all that really intimidated these partners.
Threatening them.
And that's why that's ultimately my opinion on why they're out of the business now.
Yeah.
Is they just had a ceiling. They wanted a ceiling. They couldn't see above a ceiling. Like, implement someone to take over your job. Why isn't that better? Right? Like, why isn't that something that you're able to
It comes from a limited mindset of the one-itis, like, oh, I want to cling to this because what am I going to do if I get outvoted?
Like,
rather than upgrading
am
yourself.
I going to become someone
Yeah.
someone that's not admired? Like, is it going to give me less authority? Like, who cares about authority? What about your baby just growing? What about your company just growing, right? And I had great success at BZI. Like, nobody there, James Barlow won't say I didn't perform for him, right?
Yeah.
But it just was clear to me, and I had a great friend, relative that I hung out a lot at that time, just says, Nate, why don't you start your own business? And boom, that's where we're at. So point is you've all heard of my history with that. So I'm not trying to get in that. I'm trying to help the entrepreneur go up in the business, right?
Well,
and you don't need to be an entrepreneur. I'm telling you, the stress is endless. The stress is outrageously hard. It is way funner to be a great paid. If you're not paid, you need to get paid. A great paid entrepreneur.
Yes. But
because
more on that,
you produce results.
You didn't want to be the entrepreneur. You wanted to be a great entrepreneur, but there was nothing that could offer you that. And so you had to you were kind of forced to become the entrepreneur. And now all of these entrepreneurs can come and follow you and come and be a part of your team. And I actually have friends and relatives that would be a great entrepreneur, but they're working for a company that they've been stuck because they can't move up. They're at the top. They're stuck. And I'm trying to coach them and say, hey, go find someone, whether that's over here with us or someone else that was forced to start a business. Go join their team and send it. Full send.
Absolutely. I think it's super important to make sure that you are always improving, because if your boss doesn't want you to improve, what kind of boss is that? Right? Like, and if your boss ain't giving you the opportunity to improve, you need to find a new boss. And it's just important that, like, entrepreneur-like people, and keep in mind, you're not going to have that much competition. If you are a great entrepreneur, you're not going to have much competition. Separate yourself from the mindset of, I don't want to do that because so-and-so is doing that. No, so-and-so is not doing that. Go do that because you have no competition as an entrepreneur.
You have way more competition in a big business because they can just get another person. So if you have like a smaller, newer business within like the 5 to 10 year range that are still getting their systems going, you go in there, you can go absolute ham, especially if you have high energy like us.
So yeah, absolutely. But what I'm saying is the entrepreneur mindset has limited competition. Not very many people think that big. Not very many people really want that inside a business.
Yes.
You can literally get paid millions a year. obviously you need to grow with the company. You need to become that valuable to the company. But you as an ambitious entrepreneur, I totally envision you being paid, making millions a year. It's going to be five or more years down the road.
That's the vision.
But your value is going to be there.
What is the difference between entrepreneur and intrapreneur? Because there's people listening that the word intrapreneur is the first time they're hearing it.
Well, so honestly, I used to be the intrapreneur, and now I'm the entrepreneur. First of all, intrapreneur isn't used enough. Entrepreneur is overused. There are intrapreneurs that actually try to call themselves entrepreneurs. And those guys are the ones that think they can do it all in a business, right? So you go start a business and maybe you're doing a couple $100,000 to $1 million a year. They're still entrepreneurs. They're being controlled by their company that they created, right? They're not creating a company. They're not working on that company, working at it. So I would say that the entrepreneur is one who is continually growing the company. Like right now, I'm still an entrepreneur to my own company, but I'm also an entrepreneur. I would say that I am 70-30, 70% entrepreneur, 30% entrepreneur.
Yeah. So it's the same mindset.
It's the same mindset. It's just your role, right? Like,
would you say it's like less? Because the entrepreneur doesn't have to put up the money. They don't have to risk the money. The entrepreneur had to start the company and risk it tanking.
Risk it all, right? But what I'm saying is roles, you need to identify, are you great for an entrepreneur, which is less risk, and I would say a lot of reward compared to the risk you're taking, right? The same reward compared to the risk you're taking.
Are you saying entrepreneur? Yeah,
the entrepreneur has is in proportion to the risk that they take, they have the same reward.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but an entrepreneur takes all this risk. Like I've dedicated every bit of cash I had, every bit of my time and focus, everything on my business.
And on
I've
something
all that
could tank, possibly. That's a high risk. And it
right. And so my reward in monetary value is bigger, but not in percentage. Because I took all this risk. I should get all this.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're an entrepreneur, you're not taking any risk, right? You're going to get all this. The same as percentages.
A lot of people cannot handle that amount of risk. If they get put on and they put out that kind of risk, they will literally want to kill themselves. There's so much anxiety with it.
Yeah.
So much anxiousness.
Well, and I had to go through that, right? Like there's so many things. I love talking business. I love business ideas. And so like when I'm high on anxiety, when I'm highly stressed out, all I do is call one of my business partners or call one of my great friends that loves talking about business. And I just talk about business because that is my goal. I just want to be a businessman, right? And that gives great opportunity and loves the people that are around me. But that's kind of off point here. But the entrepreneur mindset to me in context is more rewarding than the entrepreneur because there's less risk. There's definitely less risk. If a company goes out, if you're an entrepreneur and a company goes down, it don't hurt your reputation. Your reputation is that you did all this as an entrepreneur. That next company will hire you because you had this all experience. If you're an entrepreneur or if you're an entrepreneur and you go down, that hurts your reputation. People don't have confidence in you anymore.
Like you lost this
because
business.
you lost it all.
Yeah.
You didn't play it smart. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the entrepreneur to me, I would have rather be an entrepreneur inside BZI.
Yeah.
But I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was stunted.
Your calling was for bigger.
Because of those other partners.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps out because it really is it's an important thing to define. Like, and don't look at anybody that owns a business. Somebody says I own my own business. See how real they are. Ask them how much they're doing a year.
Mhm.
Ask them if they have a COO. Ask them if they have their belt on all the time. If they have their belt on all the time still in our world, like if you're out in the field doing it all the time already, still, you're an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
You're still an entrepreneur.
There's a level that you have to do that.
Stop calling yourself an entrepreneur unless you have better people inside your business running it for you.
Mhm. Yeah. One last thing on the entrepreneur side, say for me, I'm always looking for better ways to speed up the things that I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, and that was true. Going back to the first of this podcast with you, is that's what made me look at you a lot. Is you were always running around like, how can I make this faster?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so and I would get phone calls from you late at night talking about what needed to happen tomorrow, mm-hmm. just to help your circle go better. Right. And so like, ultimately, your bosses just want things done faster. And that's a quick way to get attention. That
a lot of times they don't even know it until you do it. And then they're like, oh, shit.
Well, they don't realize it can be faster until you do it.
Yeah, that's
so
better. That's
I think that's one of the quickest ways to get attention is just do something faster.
Mm-hmm.
Make the process better. And you will make it, you will get their attention.
Mm-hmm.
Because the goal is to make more money and do more.
Yes.
Be more responsible. A lot of people would take better, more fulfilled responsibility than more money.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's also another thing I want to add is take on as much responsibility as you can, as fast as you can. And I know it comes with a lot of stress, but you feel way more fulfilled as a man, especially young men. If
you want to make a lot of money as an entrepreneur, mm-hmm. do these two things. Take on way more responsibility. Stay up at night. Just really make processes better. Take on more responsibility. Do not ask for money. Okay. Just assume all that responsibility. Okay. Just assume it. Like take it away from people.
Yes.
And then go ask for money. Number one, take all the responsibility you can possibly handle. Number two, go ask for the money. Why? Because then leverage is on your side at that point. When you go say, can I get paid more? I'm going to look at you and I'm going to say, if you're just in the same world you are and only have the responsibility, no, you're not, you don't have any more, mm-hmm. right? You're not doing more.
The doing has to come first. You have to do more.
Absolutely. That's how you get paid more. And then go and just use that leverage. Like if you're doing a ton in the business, you become more irreplaceable. So become irreplaceable by doing more than you're asked consistently and effectively, and then use that to go get more money. That's how you can make more money effectively. Otherwise, just don't be the entrepreneur or the employee that's asking more and more and more money just because you think mm-hmm. you need more. Go provide more value and then use that as a leverage to get you more money.
Yeah.
Period.
Now you can dig into the details of doing more because there's some things that when I was doing it, I excelled in some areas and I hated some mm-hmm. other areas. So I did more of what I was good at, mm-hmm. whether that's office stuff, whether it's in the field, whatever it is. So everyone has a different set of skills, but identifying those and just send it, absolutely send it.
Dude, this is a great podcast and thank you all for listening. And thanks, Justice, for coming on one more time. I absolutely feel like that Justice will be a great co-host. He is the perfect example of what I used to be working for other companies, and I love the conversation with Justice. He's close. He's one of the closest people to me, and he knows how to get on my nerves, which you will see in the future. And even last week, he got on my nerves a couple times in that other podcast. So, like, come back next week. Share this. Let's get on with it. Go to work. Make a lot of money. Become a great entrepreneur. So, if you ever need, you can take all that value you learned as an entrepreneur and become a great entrepreneur. Let that be your focus. Entrepreneur first, entrepreneur second. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.